What if everything we thought we knew about black holes is only half the story?
Oh, really? We are inside a black hole. We are inside a fully gravitationally bounded radius.
What if the most terrifying objects in the universe, the places where matter is crushed, light is swallowed, and time itself grinds to a halt, aren't endings at all, but doorways? And what if the proof has been hiding in the oldest light we've ever detected for over 20 years? For most of the history of modern physics, a black hole was a dead end, a cosmic trash compactor. You go in, you get annihilated. End of story. But a wave of recent research is rewriting that narrative in ways that would have sounded like pure science fiction just a decade ago. Today, we're going to break down 3 separate breakthroughs that are converging on one extraordinary idea: that black holes are not destroyers. They're transitions, gateways between phases of reality itself. We're going to call this idea what it really is: the cosmic turnstile. And by the end of this, you'll never look at a black hole the same way again. To help us make sense of all this, we sat down with 2 of the theoretical physicists actually behind this revolution. Let's start where every black hole story starts, with a death. When a star roughly 20 or more times the mass of our sun exhausts its nuclear fuel, it doesn't fade gently into the night. It collapses violently. In less than a second, the core implodes so fast that a region of space smaller than Manhattan becomes denser than anything else in the observable universe. What's left behind is a black hole, a region where gravity is so extreme that the escape velocity exceeds the speed of light itself. Nothing gets out, not particles, not radiation, not information. At least, that's what we used to think. At the center of every black hole, according to Einstein's general relativity, there is something called a singularity, a point of infinite density where the math literally breaks.
Einstein's theory of general relativity basically says that if an object is compact and dense enough, it will eventually collapse under its own gravity and it will form this black hole, where in a sense all the energy, all the mass is sort of in this singularity, which is sort of infinite density. So you could see that as a prediction, but you could also just say that that's kind of a failure of the theory, because the theory at that point breaks. And it doesn't tell you anymore what's going on.
A failure of the theory. The equations produce infinities, which in physics is a polite way of saying we have no idea what's actually happening here. But quantum mechanics, the other great pillar of modern physics, says information can never be destroyed. It can be scrambled, but it cannot vanish, ever. This rule is called unitarity.
Unitarity means that you can prepare your initial state in your quantum theory, and you can evolve it in time, and in principle you should be able to evolve to arbitrary times in the future. So that's, in a sense, where the contradiction comes in with this idea of a singularity, because the singularity would say that time ends, whereas unitarity basically says there has to be something beyond the singularity.
There has to be something beyond the singularity. This is the famous black hole information paradox, and it has haunted physics since Stephen Hawking first described it in the 1970s. For 50 years, nobody could resolve it, until now possibly. In March 2025, Dr. Steffen Gielen and Lucia Menendez-Pidal published a paper in Physical Review Letters. What they proposed was elegantly simple. They used a framework called unimodular gravity, which treats dark energy, that mysterious force pushing the universe apart, as a kind of cosmic clock, a universal metronome that gives time its direction.
We do have a reference system that seems kind of universal. It's the same everywhere in the universe, which is dark energy, which you might think of as the energy in the vacuum. So it's a local energy density that you can measure anywhere in the universe, and it's kind of constant. And so it gives you kind of this reference point where sort of, because you have this source of energy, in a sense that acts as a clock.
A clock built into the vacuum of space itself. And when they applied this framework to the interior of a black hole, something remarkable happened. The singularity vanished. Not patched over, replaced by a region of intense quantum fluctuations, a turbulent, seething zone where the classical notions of space and time no longer apply. And on the other side of that zone, A white hole, the theoretical reverse of a black hole.
A white hole is something that is a solution even to the standard Einstein's theory of general relativity. It's basically the time reverse of a black hole. A black hole is a region that you can't escape from. So you can enter it, but you can't escape from it anymore. And the white hole is the same thing, basically played backwards, which means that you can only get out of the white hole. You can never enter the white hole. So there's also a horizon, but it kind of works the other way. And it also has a singularity, but the singularity is in the past. So it's basically the beginning of time rather than the end of time.
Inside what we used to call a dead end, the math now says there's a doorway. And on the other side of that doorway, time starts. Matter, energy, and time itself re-emerging into existence. Now, the question you're probably thinking is, okay, but is this just elegant math, or does it describe something real? Fair question. And this is where it gets genuinely strange. Because a separate line of research published in early 2026 took a hammer to one of the most famous ideas in physics. The Einstein-Rosen bridge, the thing you've heard of as a wormhole. Two distant points in space connected by a shortcut through the fabric of the cosmos. Except that's not what Einstein and Rosen were actually describing. And nobody knows that better than Dr. Sravan Kumar at the University of Portsmouth, one of the authors of that paper.
To my surprise, even I finished my PhD, and after 6 years of my PhD, I had in mind that, okay, Einstein-Rosen bridges is wormholes. But when I encountered the first time in 2021, the title of the paper is A Particle Problem in General Relativity. I was shocked. What? But Einstein-Rosen posed a problem, the actual problem between gravity and quantum mechanics. When they tried to describe a meaning of a particle in a black hole space-time, they understood that they require two arrows of time.
Two arrows of time, not a tunnel through space, a connection between two directions of time. Most fundamental physical laws don't distinguish between past and future. Reverse time in the equations, and they still work. We ignore this because our coffee never unspills and our eggs never unscramble. But at the quantum level, especially near black holes, both directions of time may be necessary for a complete physical description. The Einstein-Rosen bridge, in this reinterpretation, isn't a passage for starships. It's the mathematical signature of time's two-way nature, hidden in plain sight for nearly 90 years. And here's where it stops being pure theory, because Sravan's team went looking for a fingerprint of this two arrows of time framework. And they think they found it in the cosmic microwave background, or short CMB. The CMB is the oldest light in the universe, released roughly 380,000 years after the Big Bang. We've mapped it with extraordinary precision. It's remarkably uniform, almost suspiciously so. But for more than 2 decades, across 3 generations of satellites, COBE, WMAP, and Planck, astronomers have spotted a stubborn anomaly, a signal that, under standard cosmology, simply shouldn't be there.
When we go to the 180 degrees in all directions, there is an anti-correlation. What is anti-correlation? There is the less temperature at one point and more temperature at another point, exactly by the same amount, which is extremely surprising. These points would never been in causal contact even during in the beginning moments of the universe, right? But how come the regions which are not in causal contact still seems to have an anti-correlation?
Regions of the early universe that could never have communicated with each other, somehow mirroring each other perfectly. A statistical impossibility under standard models. But under Sravan's framework, where time flows in both directions at the quantum level, the asymmetry isn't a fluke, it's a prediction. His team ran the calculation with no free parameters, and the numbers matched what we actually see in the sky. A strange signal in the oldest light we have, potentially explained by the idea that black holes connect 2 directions of time. But here's the part that keeps physicists up at night. If the singularity is replaced by a quantum transition zone, if black holes connect forward-flowing time to backward-flowing time, then a staggering implication follows. Our universe, all of it, Every galaxy, every star, every atom in your body could be the interior of a black hole that formed in a previous cosmos. What we call the Big Bang might not have been the absolute beginning. It might have been a bounce, a quantum rebound from the collapse of a parent universe into something new.
What's inside a black hole could be an expanding, very hot universe. So when you think of it, oh, really, we are inside a black hole. Yeah, we are inside a fully gravitationally bounded radius.
So, from the outside, it looks like a black hole. It looks like a universe. The boundary between those two things might be nothing more than a matter of perspective. Now, let's add a third thread. In 2025, a separate team tackled a related question. What does the interior of two quantum-entangled black holes actually look like? Their answer was unexpected and wonderfully weird. Instead of a smooth, clean tunnel between them, they found a long, bumpy, segmented structure. They called it the Einstein-Rosen caterpillar. The more chaotic the quantum connection, the longer and lumpier it became. But critically, it remained stable. It didn't collapse. This challenges the famous firewall paradox, which suggested the interior of a typical black hole should be violently unstable at its boundary. The caterpillar says otherwise. The connection holds, even under chaos. Step back and look at everything we've laid out. Because when you see these three threads together, the pattern is hard to ignore. 1. The singularity at the heart of a black hole may not exist. Quantum mechanics replaces it with a transition zone leading to a white hole, and time continues rather than ending. 2. The Einstein-Rosen bridge isn't a spatial shortcut. It's a deep symmetry of time, leaving observable traces in the cosmic microwave background. 3. The interiors of entangled black holes are connected by stable, complex structures that preserve information rather than destroying it. Separately, each finding is significant. Together, they form the outline of something paradigm-shifting. Black holes may not be cosmic dead ends, but the universe's way of connecting different phases of existence. The cosmic turnstile. You don't get destroyed when you reach the center. You get redirected. In this point of view, black holes aren't destroyers. They are recyclers. Now, a word of honest caution, cosmonauts. None of this is confirmed. These are theoretical frameworks, peer-reviewed and mathematically rigorous, but theoretical nonetheless. No one has observed a white hole. No one has sent a probe through an event horizon. The CMB anomaly, while tantalizing, could have other explanations. We are peering at these questions from the outside, like ants on the rim of the Grand Canyon, trying to guess what's at the bottom by the sound of the echo. But for the first time, we're not just speculating. We have mathematical models that resolve long-standing paradoxes. The next generation of gravitational wave detectors, instruments like the space-based LISA mission, along with sharper CMB measurements, could confirm or rule out pieces of this picture within our lifetimes. The answers might already be written in the data. We just need to know what to look for.